Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Michael Camo. I'm director of content for T3 Live, and I'm here with my good friends Derrick Oldensmith and Sami Abusaad for the Brain Trust. Unfortunately, our good friend JR Romero is sick today, so he will not be joining us. So I have to admit that I've lied to you guys a lot of times throughout these shows. I've told a lot of lies, and the lie I typically say is like, this is the most important day of the year, but it's actually true today. Shocker. But yeah, so we have the FOMC today, Tesla, Microsoft, Meta, IBM, ServiceNow reporting earnings. So this is a big time in the market. So we will get to the FOMC and our favorite ideas. But I want to start the conversation by talking about the aftermath of the DeepSeek fallout, where all the AI stocks got blown up because now there's fears that companies are not going to have to spend as much money on NVIDIA GPUs and all this other stuff, that less hardware spending can lead to better results. So, Derrick, the big question is, was there lasting damage done to either the market or the semis in particular?
Sure. So Monday was the freak out sell everything day, where anything that's got AI around it at all was sold down very heavily by the market open. Yesterday through today, I feel like we're starting to get a little bit of a better idea of the winners and losers. We saw some things get bought back incredibly well. Like Meta got bought back incredibly well. Amazon, Microsoft got bought back incredibly well. Yesterday was a hugely positive day for most software companies, Salesforce, Snowflake, Path, UiPath. It's like one after the next was just absolutely ripping. So day one is just that initial freak out. Oh my God, we don't know what's going on. Sell everything. Day two into day three, we're starting to get a little bit more clarity on winners and losers that are potentially coming from this update of the technology. And the software names seem to be the winners. The Chinese stocks, shout out to both Sami and myself for really touting these over the course of the last couple of weeks on our meeting here. Clear winners, Alibaba, monster yesterday through today. Other names like NVIDIA, still to be seen. NVIDIA, if it continues to hold below the 127 to 130 area, I think it's saying that there is a lasting negative effect on the stock, or at least an additional layer of uncertainty. And we know that the market hates uncertainty. So if there's going to be additional uncertainty somewhere, it just means that the market's going to trade that stock or that market at a lower price until it has a better understanding of things.
Okay, Sami, what do you think? Was there any real damage done to the market in terms of the bigger picture, and I guess the semis in particular? And I see you are sneaking your charts in while I'm not looking.
Yeah. So okay. Well, thank you. I would like to share my charts. So yesterday on the microphone, I said in the morning before the market opened, I said there's no way I can tell you guys if this is bearish or how bearish it is. There's no way. We have to wait. This is yesterday's bar in the Nasdaq. We have to wait and see if this produces follow through to the downside. Then it would be bearish. Or if it gets negated, and in that case, it means it wasn't really as bearish as it looked and felt. And boom, that was yesterday. The big green bar. Where did it go now? Here it is. So to me, there was no lasting impact, no lasting negative impact through that. What happened, with the announcement, not the announcement, the DeepSeek information news, and today I'm expecting the market to stay a little bit bearish up until FOMC, and maybe we pop on FOMC. If the 20 MA was bullish, I would be much more sure that we are going to get a pop into FOMC. The SPY, is almost at all-time high. So what real damage was done? You tell me. It's almost at all-time high. IWM is on its own. I mean, it's just sideways for the most part. But the SPY and the Qs, no real damage. If there was real damage, we would have seen follow through to the downside yesterday. After that initial gap, the big gap down, we would have seen follow through. Now, let's take a look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA is a different story. Look at the weekly. Wow. we'll have to wait and see how this week closes and if we follow through to the downside or not. But it appears to be breaking, if not the trend, then at least the if not the uptrend, at least the uptrend line. Like the momentum is almost over on Nvidia, I think, is what it's looking like, especially on that weekly chart. We won't know for sure until this week closes and we get follow through to the downside or a reversal back to the upside. So that's kind of what I'm waiting on. Nvidia, it's too early to tell, but it's either breaking that uptrend line, so the momentum is over, or it may be even breaking the uptrend completely on the weekly chart. So I think there was probably some lasting damage to Nvidia, but not so much to the market. But we'll find out. We'll find out.
Okay, all right. So let's, and guys, again, we're going to circle back to earnings in a little bit, but we have the FOMC on deck today. So Derrick, last time we had a hawkish cut, market got slammed a little bit, came right back. Like Sami pointed out, all things considered, you know, things seem okay. Now, there is this thought about they might pause rate cuts for the rest of the year. We don't really know. There's so much confusion over the Trump administration and their policies. Do you think, is there something in particular the market wants to hear today?
What the market wants to hear is that there's going to be more cuts this year. I don't know if the market's going to get what it wants. So it's pretty much fully priced in that there's going to be a pause today, right? There's going to be no action from the Fed, no cut, and obviously no hike either. So at 2 o'clock, I would primarily just expect a bunch of volatility to come in, but not necessarily direction. What really creates bigger market movements is surprises away from expectations. So those surprises we've seen these last couple of years now, because the Fed does such a good job forecasting exactly what it's going to do, typically come in during the press conference period, which starts at 2:30. And we need to take a look at what the dot plot looks like, and we need to take a look at what Jerome Powell's language looks like to get an idea of just how dovish or hawkish this pause is. I think that the risk is to the downside on this event personally, but I would not be surprised on a movement in either direction, and it'll be entirely dependent on how hawkish or dovish that language is and what the dot plot looks like if there's any adjustments to it.
Okay, Sami, do you think there's any edge here on whether you think the market is like expecting good news or bad news? Do you have any bias to the long or short sides here?
I'm biased to the upside, I think, because of what I talked about the market. You know, that the gap down really got bought, and especially on the Nasdaq and the SPY, we reclaimed that 20 MA on the daily. Now the 20 period moving average on the daily is not rising, so the momentum isn't really all that strong to the upside. So I don't think we're going to explode higher, but I think I'm more biased bullish for sure into FOMC.
Okay, now Sami, since I know you're very much like hardcore by the numbers technical guy with your strategy, do you ever speculate on news events like this?
I don't know. I don't think I do, but I have certain expectations that I would say are kind of factored into whatever I'm looking to do. So I'm not necessarily like betting on the event playing out how I expect it, but I'm going with some kind of a bias. So to some extent, yes, to some extent, no.
Okay. All right. Okay. So the other big story today is earnings, because we have Meta, Tesla, Microsoft. There's probably going to be fallout for Nvidia because they're going to be asked about what they're doing with their AI spending. So Sami, I'll start with you since you're the resident earnings guy. Do you see any edges with any of these names in particular?
What do you think, Mike? Do I ever see any edges or what?
It's happened once or twice before, but
it's happened once or twice before. You're absolutely right. Am I showing my charts?
I'll bring them up.
Please indulge me. So here you go, my friends. I already looked at some of the earnings. It's too early for me to be scanning the earnings list right now. I like to do it at 1 to 2 o'clock, closer to the close. But here's what I like. Long, IBM. That looks pretty good to me into earnings. I also like Meta higher into earnings. I like Microsoft higher into earnings, but I don't love it. So notice what I flagged. This is my bullish list as of right now. This is my bearish list. And I was just going over the bearish list and seeing, flagging it basically. But as of right now, favorite longs into earnings would be IBM and Meta. Microsoft, I'm biased to the upside. Notice how it got bought pretty hard, but it's into resistance, so I don't love it as much. In terms of some of the other names, that's not bad, except for that topping tail. So it's a little bit sloppy, the DLB. Not bad. This is a bit too weak. That's too sloppy. Microsoft, we talked about. I think it goes higher, but I'm not sure. This also looks pretty nice. So favorite ideas long would be these four, with IBM and Meta the favorite two. The shorts, I like a lot. I mean, this is an ADR, so I don't know if it's really going to move much, but I like it short. The STM. Comcast is pretty weak. I like it. KEX is weak. KEX, I don't know anything about the KEX. I guess it's shipping. It looks slower. This is interesting, the Cigna on the move up, but as a short, not as a long, as a short. But I don't love it. I think man down. How about man down? That looks slower, but it's a strong reversal. So that's the issue with it. But good location on the weekly. Looks okay on the monthly. So that looks okay. Not amazing. This looks pretty good. It's flagged. So that's one of the favorites. That looks pretty good. LUV, I like it a lot. The only issue is JetBlue crashed yesterday. So why did the LUV not crash at all? Otherwise, this thing looks good. Like, I'd love to do it short. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, wow, why did the LUV not respond to the crash in JetBlue at all? Otherwise, that's pretty good, I think, as a short. So that's the issue with it. AOS flat 20, that's the problem, but otherwise looks pretty good, I think. The AOS. I like to look at the charts on my 4K monitors, 38-inch. I'm on my laptop right now, so I don't see as clearly, and I'm looking at only one time frame at a time. I like to look at big monitor, big charts, multiple time frames at once. But this looks weak, very, very weak. So that's probably good to do also. Bad monthly. And Mobileye, I think, looks good short. So there's my list for you. And I'm showing you my favorites as of right now, long and short. So there's going to be some nice plays. We did take some of the nice winners today, like a lot of nice winners. And FFIV, the EAT is a pretty nice winner for us in the newsletter. Learn is a pretty nice winner for us in the newsletter. So we had some nice winners, and the earnings season is just getting started. So I love this strategy of predicting earnings before the of betting on companies before they report. And I feel like I've perfected it to some extent. So we'll see how these play out today and go from there.
Sami.
Yes, sir.
How did Tesla not come up in there?
Tesla looks lower. That's why. And I'm in it long. So I'm not thrilled about Tesla looking lower. Tesla looks lower. I mean, if you want my answer, Tesla lower. But, I'm in it long as a longer term play. So I hate the idea of admitting it. But yeah, Tesla doesn't look good to me. It looks lower.
Listen, I'm also long Tesla. I'm ready to ride out the near term chaos. But yeah. Sami, don't ever hold back on me like that again. That was just terrible.
We'll not do it again.
Okay, all right, Derrick, on to you. Do you is there anything worth messing around with here? I mean, because like even we have the FOMC in an hour and a half, and then that's going to cause a bunch of problems in with earnings. But are you playing anything into earnings?
So I have Tesla on my short list to throw it out there for you guys. Seems to be one that I've been consistently on the short side for these last couple months and have done really well with it. I think Tesla looks terrible holding below $400. Who knows what's going to happen on the earnings report, especially with Elon Musk. He's always a little bit of a wild card. But I think that Tesla is starting to really look like a broken stock and broken chart to me, especially if it breaks some of this more near-term support that it still has around this like 377 area. So Tesla was a short idea for me for today, for the team. It's working out okay. I tend to be more reactionary after the fact on earnings than taking bets into them. But if I was going to have a bias, I agree with Sami on IBM and Microsoft. Meta makes me a little bit. I always get a little bit nervous when stocks have really big runs into the report. So this Meta is like 4 days up in a row into the report. So that one would make me a little bit more nervous. But obviously, the company is a powerhouse, and the stock has been performing as such as well. What else do I got? I have still have NVIDIA on the short list for today. I was shorting 128-ish pre-market in the stock. It was pretty good. I'm out of it now. I'm going to look to reassess just because it's still a bit extended to the downside from that really big gap. So I think it was a good short trade as it retraced into that 127 to 130 area, which was previous support. Sami was just showing the chart on the weekly, the daily. It's holding below, previous support becomes future resistance. It's what we're seeing in the stock right now. So it was on my short list for today. Still battling Palantir to the short side as it got back into that $80 resistance yesterday afternoon. I was shorting some there and covered a lot of that this morning. I know it's not an earnings name right now. It will be eventually. But yeah, it's kind of my basic thought process on some of these earnings reports. But I'm not going to take bets into them. I'm going to trade the reaction after the fact.
Okay. And Derrick, do you ever feel that same kind of conflict like that Sami talked about, where like you can like something long term and hate it short term? Like how do you think about those types of things?
Or the opposite? I actually was just talking about this in my team afternoon meeting yesterday when I was looking. I forget what we were talking about, but I used RGTI as an example. When RGTI got down to like $6 on January 13th, I was buying the crap out of that stock. But I don't believe in it at all. I don't believe in these quantum computing stocks that have zero revenue coming in, that this RGTI belongs at $13. But I was willing to take it in the other direction because that's what the technical trade was, and I'm here to make money. I would say that for me personally, and I know that this differs from Sami, I do better when I have more conviction in the idea. So like when I was shorting the RGTI, I had a lot of conviction on that and made a lot of money on it. When I was buying it, I had a little bit less conviction in it because, like I said, I don't believe in the stock. It was just a technical trade for me. I'll still take the long because I'm here to make money, but I'm not going to take it as aggressively as I took the short, which is the side that I really believe in. And then, things can happen on different time frames. So you could have my favorite company in the entire world, but if I see it go absolutely insanely parabolic, then not only am I going to be selling out and booking profit on any long that I may have, but I'm also going to be potentially shorting that parabolic move to make a few dollars as it corrects, even if I'm a big time frame believer in the company itself.
Okay, thank you, Derrick. Okay, so now it is time for our favorite moment in the show. We need ideas because I have money burning a hole in my pocket, and I need to know where to spend it.
I'll give you my favorite idea right now.
I can tell Sami's itching. It's probably gonna be a good one.
It's Zoom video. It triggered for the newsletter on this day, and it triggered yesterday. Also, we added it, doubled up on it. But Zoom, my friend, looks like it's gonna zoom up like crazy. So that's my favorite idea if you want just one idea. Of course, I mentioned Twilio 2.0 was coming, and we had the gap already. That looks higher to like $200, or it got to target. 140 was the target, but I had 1,000 shares. I now have 600 shares in Twilio. That looks amazing to like $200-300 at least. But that's kind of, that's pretty late. And of course, I do like a lot of I'm in a lot of the China stocks, but they're too late. I mean, we mentioned them last week, Derrick and I, the week before also. So I have a bunch of those. I don't have my daily watch list on me. Let me see if I can actually get it off of the tracking sheet that I have here in the cloud. Give me 1 second. So I forgot to bring my daily watch list. So hold on 1 second. So yeah, I like the Logi also, but we're in it as an earnings play, and it's probably too late now. Let's see. So that's the daily watch list. Ooh, I typed over it. So yeah, I'm just gonna stick with the Zoom as my favorite idea for a long-term play. when Derrick comes back on, I'll step away just to grab my daily watches, come back and see if there's something else good. I'll be sure to mention it.
Yeah, another Sammy the garbage collector, Zoom, another stock everybody hates.
We played it here, back here, and then we added to it there, exited half on the day of earnings, and then exited the back half when it broke down. And now back in it. Basically, Zoom is looking beautiful. Zillow also looks beautiful, but it's late. It's late. All right, I'll be right back after Derrick comes on.
Oh, okay. All right. Derrick, how about you? Is there anything you like in particular here or hate? We need more negativity on this show.
I don't know how I became the bearish negativity guy these past few months, because that's never been who I am, but that seems to be who I am right now. So I do still like China long. I agree with Sammy that if you're not already in it, we talked about it the last 2 weeks in a row on the show, it's you're chasing price here, and I wouldn't do that. But I still like them for higher. I actually still think that like Alibaba at $98 is super cheap fundamentally. I am slowly piecing out on the way up as it extends to the upside, but I'm looking for this Alibaba to work its way to. Right now, my target's 107. I actually think it can go significantly higher than that. But if it gets to my target, then I'll probably get out and reassess. I added pretty heavily to the yin, YINN, just I think yesterday, early-ish in the day. So I'm looking for this YINN still to get back to $40. I like JD still, but JD had been the most relatively strong in the space, and it slowed down a little bit these last couple of days. They announced that they were buying out DADA, and I think that sometimes the company that's doing the acquiring gets hit a little bit. All right, on the bad side, if we need a bad guy, it can be me. I still like NVIDIA short, not right here at 123, but on retests of the ADMA, especially as that ADMA catches up to the 127 to 130 resistance zone, previous support zone that I was referencing. I like it short. I can't allow myself to really be bullish on the stock until it proves itself by getting back above that level and proves to me that the idea is wrong. I like Tesla short. I said that one already, but let's see what happens on the earnings report. But it's another one. I think it's too expensive here. I think that the technicals don't look good. Let's see what happens. I like MSTR short. I have a smallish position that I initiated in this MSTR today, despite the fact that it got an outperform initiation. Obviously, what MSTR does depends heavily on what Bitcoin does. So if you get involved in this, you have to be very careful, because Bitcoin-related news could come out from the new administration at any time that could rip this stuff up. But MSTR has been underperforming Bitcoin. It's been acting relatively weak. The chart is neutral to bearish in my mind. It isn't a consolidation, so you want to see it break below like the $300 support level to give a little bit more conviction on a breakdown. There's resistance up at $400 that you could be short versus, or more immediately, I was just looking at these highs for the last couple of days, the $350 area to short. And then even again today, this thing got a buy initiation, an overweight initiation from, I forget which sell-side bank analyst did that, but stock's not performing even with that overweight initiation today. So I don't like MSTR. And Palantir is tricky. I'm still short Palantir. There was a time when I was down a lot of money in this name. I've publicly discussed that. I have made everything back that I was down in it, and that's with it still trading at highs near $80 or so. There's big resistance in this $80 to $82 zone. It's a really tricky one here on whether that resistance holds. I think that the stock is expensive, but it's interesting because they initially hit this down really hard 2 trading sessions ago because it's an AI play, but then they bought it up huge yesterday in the same way that they bought up all of these other software companies because they were viewing it as actually a potential winner of this DeepSeek thing. So I have been continuing to short this thing when it gets into that resistance zone of 80 to 82. I got honestly really lucky on Monday because I had shorted the crap out of it on Friday when it got up to 82.25 and closed with the downside shooting star. I swung a ton of it, and then the thing gapped huge down in my favor, and I covered a ton of it. I was up a lot of money in it, Now it's worked its way back up to that $80 area yesterday, and I reshorted. But honestly, this chart is beginning to look more and more bullish the longer it holds into this $80 level, like it could break higher. So if you're involved in that, I think a technical analysis truism is that every time a resistance level gets tested, there's a higher probability of a breakout. So guess what? Palantir short worked great for me at $80 on December 9th. It worked great for me when it got into that $80+ range on December 24th or so. It worked great when it made a little bit of a lower high and it got back to $80 on January 3rd. It worked great when it got to $80 for me on January 24th, just a couple trading sessions ago, and then I had the big gap down on Monday. But now, how many times I just said this worked? 1, 2, 3, 4 times. This is the 5th test now of that resistance level. So I have now done pretty well with it, I'm glad to say, because I was down at a certain point more in Palantir than I've been down in any trade in my entire career, and was able to make that back. But at this point, while I'm still short, I'm doing it with lesser size than I had and a lesser target on that downside because it's testing resistance for the 5th time. And even though I don't like the fundamentals here, it could go. So there's the bad side. I'm happy to be the bad guy. Let's go down on the Fed today. I'm just kidding. But I also, just with the Qs, I'm still not fully sold. I know we bounced back on that news yesterday, but for me initially, this looks like a very neutral market technically in the Qs that gave an initial oversold bounce off of bad news on a huge gap down. I'd be watching 510 on the downside, which is the low from 2 days ago. If you lose that, and the 510 has been a really important support zone for the last couple months, you got a big problem with QQQ. And then I think that this thing gets back to being bullish if it's really able to get above and close above 530. Right now we're trading at 520. We're smack in the middle point of where I think the Qs would get to being bearish or the Qs would get to being bullish. Therefore, it's very neutral for me. And I, technically almost feel like it's a coin toss, but the qualitative fundamental side of me wants to continue to lean to the bear side on the NASDAQ for the moment. So we'll see how it goes. A big rest of the week this week.
Okay, excellent. Okay, Sammy, are you pulling anything else out of the watch list?
Roku. Love me some Roku. I like Roku a lot, and it's also the same pattern. Mike, say your favorite pattern. That garbage, whatever you call it, the dumpster what pattern?
Well, you're the garbage collector. But I think we need to there's a name. It's like on the tip of my tongue, but like.
Well, I have to come up with a good name for it.
We need to give a shout out to JR on that one with the what does he say? Gas station sushi.
Oh yeah, gas station sushi. That's a pretty good name. So Roku, I like a lot. Is probably after Zoom. I would say Roku is my second favorite. Love the Guild long term. Guild was look at the Guild base here. I just wish I caught it there. I tried multiple times. It never worked. And then eventually just kept going up and up and up. And I couldn't figure out the way in it. If you look at the data chart, it just went up and up and up and up, nonstop almost. So I couldn't figure out the way in it. It's been basing now for a while. And Guild dropped from 120 to 60, has built the biggest rounding bottom I've ever seen almost. And so to me, Guild higher to 120, easy. So I like the Guild. I like the grab. We played it, the same exact pattern on the monthly. It got to 550, which was the target. It got to 575, looks like. 550 was the target. And now it's doing a weekly buy setup. It's not my favorite, but it looks pretty good. So I like grab, like Guild, Roku, we talked about. And then RH, nice monthly, pretty nice. We played it last quarter on earnings, and it gapped up. Was that it? Yeah, I believe that was it. So I don't know when this reports. This doesn't report for another couple months. So I like the RH long, and then I talked about the Zoom. So that's kind of my watch list for now. It's not a lot of names, but I like some of the. I think it's a solid watch list.
Excellent. Okay, guys. All right, everybody out there, we wish you the best of luck. 98 minutes until the Fed, then earnings. Godspeed, everyone. And JR, we hope you're feeling better. We hope you'll be back with us next week. Everybody have an amazing day. Thank you, Derrick, and thank you, Sami.
Thanks, guys.